Portland is many cities. A city of progressive, forward-thinking values, seen by many as a model for the nation. A city of natural beauty and vibrant public spaces. A community that treasures individuality and freedom of expression. But for many local children enslaved by human trafficking and commercial sexual exploitation, Portland looks very different. They don't see a city where dreams can come true. They see a place of nightmares they are forced to live out every day.
It's really difficult to know that there's a girl, probably more than one right now, being raped in a hotel room.
These are young children. They're being sold for sex. They're in this community, and the men buying them are in this community.
I don't think that people truly understand the scope of this problem and what it really involves.
There are hundreds of young kids in Portland who are sex trafficked on the streets, both boys and girls.
Every one of us in the city of Portland play a role in this happening or not happening.
Human trafficking has become a huge thing in Portland and nationwide.
What we see out on the street is people are coming from all over the United States and coming here to Portland for this. We get businessmen that get off the plane and the first thing they do is get their rental car and go pick up girls on 82nd Avenue.
If there's one kid who's being trafficked by a pimp and sold for sex, which is rape, when you're talking about a child and an adult, it's unacceptable.
Unfortunately, there is a huge demand. Portland police had put a post online to check to see how many men would view it on 24 hours. And 1,800 men viewed a single ad on a single website.
This particular ad was posted at 7:28 this morning, and it's had 456 people look at it already today.
Even if we did a sting every day, or the officers did a sting every day, and we were to catch 10 men, we wouldn't be scraping the surface of how many men are out there.
It impacts not only just the people that are being brought into human trafficking, but the neighborhoods around there.
You're getting condoms thrown on the street, guys doing the sex acts with the prostitutes right out in front of the houses. It's a daily thing for parents to see this.
You've got Johns every day out there driving up down 82nd Avenue. The girls can't walk home from the high school because the Johns circle them.
I think there are a myriad of reasons why. Some of them are location between Seattle and larger cities in California, along the I-5 corridor and I-84, a large airport.
Adult-oriented businesses, the strip clubs, the massage parlors, all those types of different places that are out there.
By law, you cannot have a minor in your club, but there's a high probability that you have minors in the back room. That's how many can be introduced.
You drive up and down 82nd, you see the motels everywhere. It's being allowed in those motels. It's being allowed in the lingerie parlors.
And there's a level of acceptance for adult prostitution and trafficking that really creates the environment in which the child exploitation can occur.
This is about the degradation of another human being for the satisfaction of the consumer.
We all need to stand up and decide whether or not this is the community that we want to live in, is a community where children are raped in hotel rooms for money. The traffickers that we're seeing, particularly in Portland, are definitely gang-affiliated pimps. These are guys who are criminals, and they're out to make money, and they don't care who they exploit or who they damage.
Sex trafficking is a hard case to investigate. It's a hard case to prosecute, and unfortunately, it is hugely profitable.
These gangsters that were before selling drugs to make their money, they're now selling women.
The only thing that motivates them, it's a dollar. It's money. And no matter how much they tell them they love them, no matter what kind of relationship they have with these victims, it is all about money. And if they don't bring home enough money, then consequences happen.
Sometimes the girls think that their pimp loves them. Sometimes they're scared to death of their pimp because their pimp beats them.
Once it comes down to a point where they're being forced to do something and people are threatening their lives or their families, or, there's really not a choice. you have a daughter and someone says, okay, if you don't go do this, you're never going to see your daughter again. I mean, what kind of a choice is there?
These kids think that they are worthless, and they do deserve it, and it will kill their family if they were to find out about it. And they don't understand how much we all want to help them and how much we view this as an accountability issue for those who abuse them.
There are men that look like me that are paying money to have sex with your daughter. And why is that allowed? Why do they get away with that?
The Johns are everybody you can imagine, from homeless individuals to doctors, attorneys, priests,
cops to security guards to teachers to professors at colleges. I mean, it's everybody. It's everywhere.
Pornography is everywhere. It's on smartphones. It's on your iPad. It's on your cable. And so men can get very hooked into the sexual addiction with that.
2/3 are married, 2/3 have children.
They could be my neighbor, my kid's soccer coach, and their lives seem to go on virtually uninterrupted while these lives of these young women and girls are being absolutely decimated.
When I do presentations around this issue to community groups like a Rotary Club or a church group, the first question that will always be asked by somebody is, where are they from? Every single kid that we have seen lives within 30 miles of where we're sitting right here.
And then the assumption is made, it's here, but it must be a very specific population of children that are at risk. And it's not.
They don't simply come from other people's families.
Our kids go to their school. They go to church with us. They live across the street.
We want to believe that it's either somebody else's kids, not in our backyard, or we want to believe that there was something about this particular girl that made her somehow flawed in a way that separates her from us and our children, so that it really isn't our problem.
Half of them are under age 15. Consistently, and 12 to 14 is the prime age of recruitment for pimps. We've seen 2 girls as young as age 11 in the shelter, one of them who started in the sex trade at age 8.
They are looking for a need they have, which is love.
You could have a child that's growing up in a household where there are all sorts of resources except the attention of a parent.
They are always searching for something, they're always searching for love or care or, someone to pay attention to them or tell them that they're pretty.
And pimps are acutely skilled at identifying with children where they're most hungry for fulfillment, and they know how to make those promises. And that's how children are lured into this.
I came from a very conservative family. My dad was a cop. My mom had her own real estate business. I got a job at one of the main recruiting places, and so I was working in a department store within there, and my pimp had been watching me for weeks, just kind of learning my lifestyle. He had originally asked me to a dinner banquet with his company, and so I had agreed to go, and we never made it to that dinner banquet. I ended up being gang raped that night, my purse completely raided. That's when I had realized they're not going anywhere. This isn't over. Even months into it, they showed me pictures of my sister, and she was completely oblivious that these pictures were being taken, walking into work, standing at her door, getting into her car, and if I ever said, no, I'm not gonna do it, he would just kind of go through his phone and set a picture down and say, all right, we'll just go get her. A couple years into it, though, I had been so brainwashed, and I had believed every lie he had said, that I was just going to be an embarrassment. My family would never accept me. People in my community would only see me as a prostitute. There was no worth to me. You start to believe those things because you're not hearing anything different. The last year of it, I didn't really have a problem staying because I didn't know where else I would go. Towards the end of it was when I had found out I was 6 months pregnant with my son. I was able to get out 8 months later. I struggle in my own life. Just every day, day to day. Every day I literally just have to make a choice. Am I gonna leave here pissed off and angry and create more of a problem? Or am I gonna leave here and channel that anger towards something else, fuel it towards leaving my house and making a difference? it terrifies them so bad that they're just like, let's just brush it under the carpet and act like it doesn't exist, and don't tell anybody. But what they fail to understand, that when you put a face to a story, it becomes so real, and it's not to scare people, it's to impact them enough to be like, okay, I think I'm going to be a little bit more careful when I do this, or how I do this, or when I do this,
The most misunderstood aspect is that the victims are somehow culpable.
We somehow want to make it their fault that men are paying to have sex with them.
This is not an issue of choice. This is not an issue of promiscuity. This is child abuse.
People just see it as a victimless crime, that this person is out there and wants to have sex, and why isn't that okay? And they don't see the background behind it, that these people have been abused.
I think if they knew the truth of what was going on and that girls were enslaved, they would reconsider.
When you sit down in a meeting and you talk to a 13-year-old girl who tells you a story of being picked up by a John, being taken into a hotel room and bound and gagged and repeatedly sodomized over multiple days and then taken and dumped on the side of a road, I don't believe people really have an idea of just how bad this problem is.
It's a lot easier to not see this issue than to see it. And once you see it, it's a lot easier to close your eyes and run the other way.
We're getting much more aware publicly that this is an ongoing issue, it's a growing issue that we've got to deal with in our country.
That it's going to take everyone united and all churches united in this fight to stop it.
So the whole idea behind this is really where can we plug you in to start talking to surrounding communities about CSEC and raising awareness. That's really what the basis is for the Speakers Bureau.
We have a woman in the group that will be serving you today. When she was 13, 2 years, drugged, raped, trafficked. We don't want that to happen to anybody else. And so we really want to raise awareness and prevention and support for victims of human trafficking. Watch out for your friends, sisters, neighbors, those that are at risk that you know, and we'll just fight this together.
Well, us survivors have to live with it for the rest of our lives. I'm going to make it known. It needs to be talked about more. It needs to be not just in churches or schools, like even in the workforce.
I have daughters, and I have to educate them about the risks they face because the pimps are recruiting them.
People should know that it's out there. The other thing that they should know is that there are lots of dedicated people out there that are trying to stop the problem.
We should stop treating these girls as criminals and start treating them as victims. There's no one who believes that more than police officers and prosecutors.
I've come to learn that there's a lot more behind prostitution, and then looking at these people actually as victims, being out there and trying to get them the help they need to get out of the lifestyle.
The best role for law enforcement is to understand what the fight is. The fight's not to arrest all the women that are out there working. The fight is to get the women out of the lifestyle.
Getting to know them, getting to understand their story, getting to know what's making them be out there. Services have been set up that are out there, and we need to be able to get these girls to those services. And it's not just always arresting them, although sometimes that is appropriate. So that's how we are doing it differently than it used to be done.
I don't know where to begin, and I just feel so scared ever since it happened, and I just don't. I know this guy, and I don't know what to do.
They need someone who cares about them. Most of them don't have that in their lives. They need some resources. They need stable housing. They need jobs. Most of them need money, and if they don't have a job, they're going to resort back to what they know, and that's prostitution.
Right now, there's 3 of us out here looking, both in undercover and regular police cars, trying to locate people who we suspect might be working as prostitutes and or Johns or even potentially pimps that are out here trying to recruit other girls.
I'm the type of person where I don't ask for help. It's not good the way I get the money, but it feels good to actually, not be homeless. I want a job. I look for work every day. I put myself in a totally different place when I'm out here. I'm not, everything shuts off. Nothing's ever happened to me. Like other girls, I've heard other girls have been robbed and held at gunpoint, raped. Luckily, I guess I just, I luck out. But, not everyone's so lucky.
More attention has been paid to it, more resources have been put into it in terms of both law enforcement agencies, but also here in our office in the Department of Justice.
And the key to making those cases is getting those victims safe and stable so that they can come to court and they can testify.
That is a huge journey to come from staying up all hours of the night in a dark hotel room, advertising yourself online, to being able to confront your trafficker, break away from them, and to change your life for the better.
It's really equally about focusing on how we can empower, nurture, and support these victims as it is about how we can hold people accountable. How do we address the fact that we have such a huge number of men buying sex?
So John School is a single day class. It's an 8-hour class. The curriculum explains to them the risks for them, for their families, and for these women. And behind these women, there is a dangerous trafficker who's forcing these women out in the street or online.
Let's talk about what your money funds. The torture and violence that pimps use as discipline to keep their victims in line. Punching, kicking, stomping, stabbing, starving, humiliation. Guns put to their head, cocked, the trigger pulled. That's what your money goes to fund.
I'm 45. I've been doing this off and on since I was 13. As most teenagers, I wasn't getting along well at home, clashing with my parents, and ran away from home. Ended up living with this woman who had 2 young children. I was taking care of her kids, and I remember every day they were waiting on this guy named Jerry to show up. Jerry. It was always about Jerry. When was Jerry coming? He came into the house. She intentionally brought him into the house to introduce him to me. He shot me up with heroin and coke, and she left out of the trailer then, and then he raped me right afterwards. Just right after that, there was 5 prominent business owners, and he sold me to each one of those owners for $500 each time they wanted to have sex with me. I'd never even kissed a boy at the age of 13.
Of men that I've spoken to in that class, there are men who truly have been educated as to what they're a part of.
I already knew what I did was wrong, but I would say that it's way more enforced now, especially seeing what the victims go through. I had no idea it was that bad.
For the longest time, I just thought it was something that was okay and everybody does it. It's not.
Sex can be just as addictive as any substance. There are some men out there who can't stop.
A week from now, I could happen to stumble upon something again, see something I like, and be right back into it. So I'm going to think about what she's going through. Hopefully that'll keep me straight.
I'm the advocate on call. Can I help you?
Everyone is good at something. So, if you have something that you're good at, there's a way that you can help.
If people want to just join different fundraising events, do it. If you want to join a church and start a human trafficking ministry within that, do it.
We can educate ourselves, and we can look for ways that we can use the gifts that we have to be used.
The first step, I think, is just really noticing the kids that you have in your life, that you see, falling through the cracks. Talk to her parents, try to intervene.
I've heard way too many people say, I don't want to get involved in their business, but, get involved in their business. Like, you could be saving someone.
A parent can really be huge in, which way a kid is gonna go.
Even if it's just Judy coming home from school one day, mom just being, hey Judy, next time you want to go to Lloyd Center with Betty, and a guy walks up to you and he's telling you how beautiful you are, what are you gonna say?
Making people aware and educating them and holding men accountable, whether it's Johns or traffickers for this, is extremely important.
Until us men as fathers and us men as leaders and us men as men take it upon ourselves to say that isn't okay. Until we take charge of that issue, it is not going to change.
Well, men in our culture, we've got to come together and realize that this is exploitation. If they didn't pay for this, if they didn't demand it, with pornography, the prostitution, sex trafficking particularly, wouldn't happen.
On a personal level, it is just below the baseline of how human beings should treat each other.
It makes me angry in a lot of ways that, I've seen some precious young girls, and to think that someone would use them and abuse them.
So I have 6 daughters. And we see 1,000 kids a year come into our homeless youth system. And I feel like I'm a professional supposed to be watching out for kids. And this happened while I'm in the driver's seat. And we have to get people to accept it happened on our watch. That means we got to fix it on our watch.
Right now in Portland, hundreds of young women, girls, and boys are waiting. Waiting for understanding, justice, a way out. Waiting for all of us to stop looking away. Our children are waiting. How long they wait is up to us. For immediate help or information 24 hours a day, contact the National Human Trafficking Resource Center to report suspected trafficking incidents. Contact the Portland Police. To learn more about local resources and the many ways you can help, visit juniorleagueofportland.org.
Cardinal sings to the morning as I am waiting for the light. He says the darkest hours come just before the dawn is visible on the horizon.